Thank you, Brian. And I apologize for us starting late again tonight, but wanted to welcome everyone to this May 9, 2022 meeting of the Homewood City Council. We're going to start tonight, I think, with Judge Adrian Powell. Judge Powell, if you wanted to, I think you wanted a second to speak to us. You're welcome to come up now. Just come up to the podium with the mics. It would be perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. I'm not, it is weird. I'm not Adrian Powell, but I am Katrina Ross. I am your presiding judge for the criminal district bench. But I'm here on her behalf. And I say that to say that in order for me to come out on this beautiful afternoon and not really having to campaign for myself, that Adrian Powell is worth me coming out. And I tell you that because she is the most qualified person for this position. I've known her basically since law school. We both attended Miles Law School. And at Miles Law School, she was just a person that kind of stayed in her lane. She knew when to move. That's the type of person she is. And so when we graduated before her, she became an assistant to one of the attorneys that I practiced with from time to time. And she would not try to go in and tell us about the law, even though she was in law school. And a lot of us like to do that. She stayed in her lane. She was the assistant at that time. And then when she became a lawyer, she decided that at some point she would start practicing. And she came in and she came before me, and I gave her cases. And then at one point, I found out that she was truly a lawyer because she handled her cases and she handled them well. But for some reason, she likes domestic relations, and this is the place that she's running for. I can't figure that out. I really can't to this day. Cannot figure that out. But most of her practice, 80% of her practice, is in domestic relations. And that's why I say she's the most qualified person for this position. That bar, they are supporting her. She has several judges that are supporting her. The presiding judge of that bench is supporting her. Judge U.W. Clemens is supporting her. So she has a team of judges that know that she's the right person for the job. And what we're asking is for your support. So when you go out and ask who is the best person for place 23, that is Adrian Powell Moffitt. So please support her on May 24th. And that is all I have to say. I have a few cards, and I'm going to sit out by the podium and hope that you take one and pass the word on. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
President White, I didn't realize she wasn't Judge Powell, so I was going to her name for the record.
Oh, can you just give the clerk your name?
You have your name on there?
Okay.
You can just write it right here. I just want to make sure that I had you on the record for speaking, because I had her on there.
Yeah, she couldn't make it. She had to be in 3 places.
Okay. We want to give you credit.
Part of
You can
campaigning.
just write it up there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, I will go ahead and call this meeting to order, and we are going to start tonight with an invocation from our own Robert Burgett, and that'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone will please stand.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, we want to thank you for another opportunity that we have to live and celebrate life. We want to thank you for all the opportunities you've given us in this great land, and we want to ask you that you guide us, direct us, and let us make decisions that are in the best interest of all, and that we keep you in the forefront of all our thoughts and in our heart and our mind. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Burgett.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Salter, if you'll please call roll.
Yes, sir. Counselor Gwaltney?
Here.
Counselor Gear? Here. Counselor Allamont?
Here.
Counselor Wolverton?
Here.
Counselor Sims?
Here.
Counselor Jones? Counselor Smith?
Here.
Counselor Nelms?
Here.
Counselor Andress?
Here.
Counselor Harden? And President White.
Here.
So you got 2 absent, but you got a quorum.
Thank you so much. The next item is the reading of the minutes from our council meeting of April 25, 2022. I would entertain a motion and a second to dispense with the reading of said minutes and for approval of the same.
So moved, or second.
Motion for Mr. Almond, second for Ms. Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and that is 9, right? 9
Yes,
to
sir.
0. Those are approved. We also have the meetings, the minutes from our specially called meeting of April 29, 2022. I would entertain the same motion and second for these minutes.
Move to approve. Second.
All right, motion from Ms. Andrus, second from Mr. Wolverton. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Those are also approved, 9 to 0. Next, we have board vacancies. We still have Arts Advisory Council that we need to schedule interviews for. We're going to hold off on doing those, and you'll understand why when I add an item here in just a second. So, but that's the only, we've got some others that are still open that'll be closed at our next meeting, and we'll handle those then. All right, so we have 3 additions to the agenda tonight. All are going to committee referral. First one is 150522, consideration of a request for tax abatement at 740 Shades Creek Parkway, brought to us by Trey Hill and David Silverstein. The next is 16, and that'll go to finance. Next is 160522, which is a request to amend, Ms. Salter, is that right? Or Mr. Kendrick?
Correct, the ordinance.
No, we adopted ordinance in line with the petition.
Right. So it's an amendment to that?
Amendment to ordinance 2810 to annex 2 parcels.
Okay. All right, so a request to amend that ordinance. This deals with a annexation that we did some time ago. The information that was provided to the city was not completely accurate, so we need to amend the ordinance to have it accurately reflect the land that was part of that annexation. So that'll go to P&D. And then lastly, 170522 is a request for consideration to adjust the membership on the Arts Advisory Council. That was the one that I was talking about. The Arts Advisory Council has requested that we make some changes to the membership and that we hold off on our interviews until we consider that action. And the applicants, as I understand it, are aware of this, so they're okay with holding on for a while. So with those,
Where is that going?
oh, I'm sorry, that's going
Special issues.
special issues, I guess.
I think that's where the beautification board is.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, and historic
When
preservation.
it doesn't fit anywhere else.
Send it to me.
All right, so with those additions, I would entertain a motion and a second for approval of the amended agenda.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Almond, second by Mr. Gwaltney. All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? And that is, passes 9 to 0, which brings us to our consent agenda tonight. I would entertain a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda. Motion by Mr. Wolverton, second by Ms. Nelms. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is approved 9 to 0 as well. Which brings us to the old business agenda. First item is 050422, a public hearing that we opened and continued it on April 25, 2022 for consideration of a pole sign variance at 1724 27th Court South, brought to us by Tim Coker and Wyatt Pugh of our building department. And I think we'll start with a report from Special Issues. Ms. Smith.
Yes, in our committee meeting on May 2nd, Mr. Coker came before us and did a presentation about what the pole sign, this is the pole sign that is currently at Jim and Jim's Auto Body Shop, which is now not that anymore. And he presented what the sign, what they wanted to do with the sign. And we voted to send it out without recommendation pending the public hearing tonight, 5 to 0.
All right, thank you very much. So the public hearing is still open because it was open last time.
Yeah.
Mr. Coker, if you want to come up, come on up. And anybody else that you want to bring with you, come on up, and if you'll just go over this, what you're requesting here.
And there's should be a sign-in sheet up there. Is that-
Got it. Thank you.
And And yeah, just so everyone on council knows, I believe this is, there is a different, they have modified the signs, which were, there's a picture of it, and I think Mr. Coker has copies that he
Correct.
can distribute as well.
Yeah, hard copies that can be passed throughout.
You have one for all the councils? Okay.
I think so. And I have with me Ferris Malky. Ferris Malky, who many of you know probably, he's the owner of Cahaba Cycles and one of the 3 tenants in our building. The other gentleman is Carlton Millsap, who he and his brother are the new owners of the Dogtopia that will be located in the middle of this. Total respiratory individuals couldn't make it, but in response to comments in the committee meeting last week, we have changed or had the graphic design firm modify the design. Yeah, it is. The idea is to tie the sign structure in with more as an extension of the canopy, vertical extension of the canopy, and there will be a wall on the end of the canopy that'll tie into the column, and that will extend up in the same plane as the southern face, and then there will be 3 planes coming down to the roof, and then a wall that extends down to the ground under the canopy to give you a visual or a narrative description of the image you see before you. So the request this evening is for your consideration to allow that variance to go through. We are sensitive to our tenants that are locating there, trying to get, eventually we would, through the sign design process, probably add their logo to the sign for Dogtopia, and so for the Rosedale Central redevelopment and for the tenants trying to maximize their exposure. So there you go. Questions, comments?
Let me ask,
Gentlemen, you have any
let me ask a
further-
question real quick. On the second page of what you've submitted,
Right.
what am I looking at here?
Oh, that's a plan view.
Okay.
That'll show you the canopy coming out. That image is part of that
So this is
email
the
as
building
well.
and this is the sign, correct?
That is actually the tables located beneath the canopy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
In other words, yeah, the rectangle is the restored canopy we've already
Uh-huh.
done. The wall at the end, toward the bottom of the page, Alex,
yeah,
that would be the new sign, the wall that extends down from
that
the
triangle
southern
there.
face of the sign.
I'm with you.
Yeah, and then the dashed is the hidden lines. That's the other 2 faces of the sign that would come down above the roof, okay?
it.
That don't extend to the floor or to the ground.
Got it.
All right?
Okay.
These are actually tables or what have you that
Sure.
Domestique Coffee will have out under that canopy, which is an extension of their restaurant.
Got it. Okay, thank you. That's very helpful.
Good.
Can I-
Absolutely.
So, appreciate that you listened to our comments and kind of made some adjustments, but, so what I'm understanding you saying is that what is currently all that empty white space on the tall sign, I don't know if you can call it a pole sign anymore, because it's not really a pole, that would eventually feature the other logos of the businesses that are there?
That is the idea, yes, ma'am.
But y'all have already, so, this is hard. So you're already gonna have the individual signs on the actual building, right? Isn't that right? I mean, I know Cahaba Cycles already does.
The images do have that, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if that's permissible, if we could do.
That would probably be a question for Wyatt. I don't think that it would be. I think that would be another variance, if I'm
Okay.
not mistaken. Am I wrong about that?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm just learning about this in real time with you all.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that would require another variance.
Yeah.
So you can't have a logo
You can't
in
just
2
put it-
locations? Okay,
No.
all right.
That would be a number variance in addition to the existence
Okay.
of a pole sign.
And to be fair to him, I'd like a chance to look at his plan just to make sure that
Here, you
I'm
wanna see?
saying it true. I mean, if he does.
So like, he was saying that they would eventually like add the additional logos like down that.
There would be minimal.
I mean, it's not a pole anymore, but to me, it's still a
Yeah,
pole
so
sign.
a cou- Couple of questions here.
All right.
First of all, is there anything else, I don't want to cut y'all off, if there's anything else about your presentation.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think what we'd be going for is a more minimal call out to the brand, to each brand. It wouldn't be anywhere close to what's on the building as far as the size of it, you know,
Okay.
if that matters. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a number of signs rather than
Yeah.
a size issue. Yes, Mr. Pugh?
And if we accept that it is a monument sign, it would be a monument sign variance.
Correct, yeah. So,
Aren't there size requirements for monument signs?
Yes, so,
Way outside.
exactly. So there would be variances either way you look at it.
okay. Let me first ask this. Is there anyone else here tonight to speak for or against this item? If not, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. So, Mr. Pugh, just so we know what we're dealing with here, in your, and if you don't have an opinion yet, since this was just given to you, I mean, I know I got the email just a few minutes before we started tonight, so if you need more time, I'm happy to give you more time to evaluate this, but I do think it's important that we understand, are we dealing with a pole sign variance or are we dealing with a monument sign variance? And I think you're the only one that can answer that question. But like I said, if you can't answer it tonight, given that this was just given to you, I'm happy to carry this item over to give you time to consider that question.
I think that would be the wise thing to do.
Okay?
Simply because I don't know what to call it at the moment.
Okay?
Wyatt, what are the size requirements for a monument sign?
Strap,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
that's another.
What are the size limitations for an actual monument sign? Like a typical monument sign, what are the size limits on that?
And I should have brought my sign ordinance with me, and I didn't, but it's only permitted in some districts, and I'm not even sure if it's permitted in this one. So I really need some time to sit down and review the plan before I, make a statement.
You guys want to say? Mr. Sims?
Yes,
Yes.
I just have a question about looking at this rendering, thinking about overall, what in your mind are you trying to accomplish? What is the value of this pole sign? I see two great logos already from Cahaba Cycle and Domestique,
Right.
and the pole sign is a variance request, right?
Correct.
So, because it's prohibited. And honestly, obviously you're going for height for awareness of the center, but everything at scale in that area, the height seems inappropriate. So I'm just wondering, what is the real value of this sign for you?
It's somewhat, because it's somewhat hidden, particularly from 18th, by the Nadeau Furniture Building that is, the former Nadeau Furniture Building, across from the Valley Hotel. And from several angles, particularly proceeding southward on Central, it's hidden by the Valley Hotel, and proceeding essentially eastward on 18th, looking the buildings just at street level sort of hide it. And one thought that we've had from Ferris Malky, who's already moved in and operating in the redeveloped center, is that customers are missing it, okay? Even customers looking for him, knowing where he is and knowing the address, or looking for his sign, they can't see it from 18th from several angles. The idea is to give them at least, if not allowed to put the logo on the pole sign or the monument sign, whatever we're going to call it, the idea is to say, he can say, Cahaba Cycles, we are at the Rosedale Central Center, the new Rosedale Central Center. You can see the Rosedale Central Center from all angles. That is the idea, is to give the tenants a reference and more visibility.
Mr. Alman?
Thank you. I guess I'm just somewhat confused because it seemed like when we were committed, we had kind of come to terms with the fact that this could be coming down, and whether we call it a monument or a pole sign, I'm hard pressed to think that this would come in would align with the aesthetics that currently exist in that area, and so I'm reluctant to even proceed longer than we have to, because monument or not, I don't know, this falls
Well,
out of
I would
bounds.
agree with you. I think and I tend to agree with your assessment of it as well. If there's no thought about regardless of which variance it is, that we simply just don't like a sign that big, then I don't know that that question matters a whole lot. Now, if someone feels like they need to know which kind of variance it is, then, you know, that's okay. But otherwise, you know, someone can, the public hearing is closed, so someone can make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to,
But it has to be in the positive.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
to approve the signs except the,
Well, it's just the sign.
oh, just, that's all we're approving, and like,
It's just the pole sign. It's the only one with the orange light.
so how
Going
do
to
we
make
that
one
motion?
additional comment?
You just make it in the positive, but you vote whatever way you want to vote.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the sign.
Okay? All right, so we have a motion from Mr. Alamont and a second from Ms. Smith. Any other questions or comments, Ms. Gear?
And just so to be sure,
Mhm.
I understand where this sign that is presented tonight, not the pole sign from, just the one tonight.
Well,
Yes, this new one, this new.
this is
monument
their
sign.
only sign they're asking for right now.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's the one that's the subject of the motion.
Okay. I do want to ask
Yeah, Ms.
before
Anders.
we vote, you know, could they meet with Wyatt to, you know, talk about what would not require a variance, what they could do? Is there anything that they could do that would not require a variance?
Well, sure, they can always meet with Wyatt. I mean, all our vote would, tonight would be saying is whether or not this is allowed. It doesn't mean that something can't, certainly something that's within the ordinances can be done without our approval. Or something can be brought back before us.
That's what I'm
Just
asking
different.
is, you know, sitting down with the fourth floor and talking about what your options are. I certainly understand wanting visibility for the area, and it's great that that area is developing and the businesses are wonderful, and I want to see them all succeed. How do we do that without something so outside of our ordinances? I guess I would love for y'all to sit down with Wyatt and, you know, really go through it and see what the options are.
Just,
Mr. Wolverton?
Jennifer, for what, do note that sign is, as far as the height and size, it's existing. That is the existing sign.
Oh, I
We're
know
gonna
what
mod-
the existing
okay,
sign
this-
is.
okay.
But it's all, but
It's
it's
not
also,
gonna be-
it's also should have already come down, because it's outside of
Yes.
its time limit for having should have already come down, because we don't allow pole signs. That's the whole thing. We don't.
I would just like to add to that point. I mean, we spoke about it at committee, but when the variance requests came through for the wall signs, that we considered those, that whole discussion also involved the pole sign coming down. So that was part of the expectation. So I just want y'all to know that that has been part of the consideration all along, is the pole sign coming down. Thank you.
Mr. Wolverton?
I think I just wanted to clarify what I thought I heard Mr. Pugh say earlier, which is regardless of this rendition or last week's, monument signs of any size are not currently allowed in that area. Is that correct?
He didn't say that. He's
Okay.
not sure.
Okay.
In at least one of the downtown districts, they're not permitted, and I'm sorry, I don't have the ordinance in front of me at the moment to tell you if that's one of them.
Okay, that's why I wanted to clarify.
Before I,
Because I thought that's what you had said, but
Yeah,
clearly
here's-
it was not quite
Here's,
accurate.
I think, the point. This requires a variance.
yes.
Okay. And that's what we're voting on, is whichever kind of variance it is, there's a variance there that it has to be had for this sign. And the public hearing said it was a pole sign, correct? Mr. Gwaltney, did you have a question?
You clarified.
Okay.
I thought Counselor Andrews was trying to not completely close the process in case he wanted to make changes, because he would have to basically have a month of public hearings going through committee. So I thought that's what she was advocating for, but I'm staying corrected.
I want them to sit down and work with our fourth floor on coming up with something that everybody would agree with, is what I would like. Just I think Wyatt, working with him and the guidance that he can provide, you know, what our sign ordinance is, what is allowed, and if there is something that you do want to come back for, to ask for a variance, that it not be, you know, so egregious, right? So, that's my opinion.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. So we need to vote on that unless anyone's looking to withdraw it based on the comments that have been made. Okay? All right. So with that, All in favor of approving a variance for this sign? Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so that is 0 to 9, and that item is defeated. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, 170422, public hearing set for tonight for consideration of a pole sign variance at 2821 Central Avenue, brought to us by Candace Watson of Signage, Inc., The Battery Restaurant, and Wyatt Pugh of our building department. And we'll start again with a report from Special Issues, Ms. Smith.
Yes, the committee met last week and voted 5-0 to refer this item out to the full council without recommendation pending the public hearing tonight. The motion was made by Mr. Alamon and seconded by Ms. Andrus.
All right, thank you. So with that, I will open this public hearing and ask if there's someone here to speak to this. Yeah, come on up.
My name's Don Hawes from Signage, Inc., representing Candace Watson. So you want to know?
Yeah, if you'll just tell us about the request.
Okay, so the existing sign that is where Little Donkey used to be there on the left. The structure is still there. The Little Donkey sign on the top is gone. The sign on the bottom is gone. So we are asking a variance to put aluminum cabinets in their places, the battery on top there, and interior elements on the bottom.
All right. Is there anyone else here tonight to speak for or against this item? All right, then I'll close the public hearing and ask if there are any comments or questions from council.
Well, I would just say, Mr. Halls, based on the previous variance that was right before you, we made it clear we're not big fans of the pole signs. They're not allowed. And in all the instances where they exist, when given the opportunity, we like to see them come down. So I think, much like Ms. Andrus, my opinion would be, it would be a great idea to meet with Wyatt and figure out what might be able to be done. I don't know if
Absent a pole sign.
Absent a pole sign. If like a monument sign, I don't know if in that on Central, if a monument sign is allowed. I think they are. Yeah. So maybe a monument sign is a good alternative in that situation. I would encourage some creative thinking, just because I'm not sure I'm going to support another pole sign, because I like to be consistent.
I would make a motion to
Well,
approve the pole
sorry.
sign unless, sorry, go ahead, Mr. Watley, sorry.
You're good, make your motion.
Yeah, make a
Sorry.
motion to approve the pole sign.
All right, we have a motion from Ms. Andrus. Who was the second from? I'm sorry. And a second from Mr. Alamon. Mr. Gwaltney, did you have a comment, or were you?
I was going to make a comment. I was just taking a look at it. The only observation I have is these two pole signs are quite a bit different. And this particular pole sign was cited by our consultants during the downtown zoning review, the signage, the new downtown signage ordinance that we have, as being a good example of how to do a pole sign. And I like the fact that it doesn't extend past the height of the building. So I do think that it has some legs in that respect to be considered for approval.
Well, if I could comment to that, I think what she liked was, if you remember, the original donkey sign had the cute little donkey. I think that's actually what she was, I mean, I know it was the pole sign she was talking about, but, once they kind of went to that more modern, just plain red and white logo, what she specifically was citing was that the donkey was kind of, funky and wrought iron and cool, and I think
Well,
that really was what she was pointing
I
out.
think she was citing that, but she also cited the Faircast sign, which is the same blade basically hanging off, but it appears to be
And I
plastic.
will also point out that in those discussions, everybody roundly, did not go forward.
I'm just letting you know
I mean, everybody
that
was
that
she
our
did.
consultants pointed those out as good examples of pole signs.
This is a less bad pole sign. I will agree with you.
But unfortunately, the variations of pole signs don't matter because we don't allow them.
Yeah, I think it's
They're in
important.
place though.
Just important to point out that the statute of, limitations for them continuing to exist with business ownership change and all that passed, so, similar to how the last one was, so.
Any other questions or comments? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
That is defeated 1-8. All right, thank you very much. Next item, 180422, public hearing set for tonight for consideration of 2 roof sign variances at 2821 Central Avenue. I believe Mr. Hawes is going to be here for this one as well. Brought to us by Signage Inc. and Wyatt Pugh of our building department, and another report from Special Issues, Ms. Smith.
Yes, similarly, we met last week. Committee voted 5-0 to refer this item out to the full council without recommendation pending the public hearing tonight. Motion was made by Ms. Andrus and seconded by Mr. Almond.
All right, so with that, I will open this public hearing. Mr. Hawes, if you'll explain this one to us.
Okay, so the structure is on top of the building right now, where you see the little donkey and the gray on the top there. So we are just asking a variance to put an aluminum panel sign with some PVC lettering over the top of the existing structure, which would just cover that. So it wouldn't be any bigger than the structure that is there right now. And
The
that is-
sign would be the same as the sign?
Correct, on
in
both
terms of
sides, and that is non-illuminated.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else here tonight to speak for or against this item? If not, I'll close the public hearing and ask if there are any questions or comments from council.
Mr. Hall, you told us this in committee, and I just can't remember. It's going to be the battery on both, like facing both streets, right?
Yes, ma'am, and there are, correct, and there's also no other plans to have any other signage on that building. I know that was one of the questions.
I would make a motion
Yeah.
to, I'm sorry.
Just a point of clarification. Is that a proffer that y'all are making, that those will be the only signs that are going to go up on that building?
Correct.
Okay. All right.
All right, I would make a motion to approve the signs.
With that proffer,
With that
correct?
proffer.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion from Ms. Smith and a second from Ms. Andrus.
No, Ms. Nelms.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Nelms. I apologize. Second from Ms. Nelms. Any other questions or comments? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 9-0 and will be resolution 2268. All right, thank you, Mr. Hawes.
Thank you.
All right, next item, 190422, a public hearing set for tonight for consideration of a front yard fence variance at 1669 Beckham Drive, brought to us by Jake Shackelford and Wyatt Pugh, and another report from Special Issues, Ms. Smith.
Yes, so this item was actually requested to be dropped by the petitioner, but since it had already been set for a public hearing, we went ahead and voted to recommend it, sending it out 5-0 from committee to the full council, so that we could drop it once the public hearing was opened.
All right, so then with that, I will go ahead and open the public hearing, ask if in the unlikely event that anyone's here to speak for or against this item. Not seeing anybody, then I'll close it and would entertain a motion to drop.
So moved.
Motion from Ms. Smith, second from Ms. Nelms. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is dropped 9-0. All right, next item, 200422, public hearing set for tonight for consideration of sign variances at 740 Shays Creek Parkway, brought to us by David Silverstein, Five Stone Group, and Wyatt Pugh of our building department, and another report from Special Issues, Ms. Smith.
Yes, committee met, voted 5-0 to defer this item out to full council without recommendation pending the public hearing tonight. Motion was made by Ms. Andrus and seconded by Mr. Almond.
All right, thank you very much. So with that, I will open this public hearing, and I see Mr. Silverstein's already up at the podium.
Good evening, everybody. Appreciate the opportunity to present this variance request. We've got 5 tonight to you all. The fact that we're meeting tonight to talk about signage variance is a positive sign. We've been working on this project since July of 19. We've made significant progress. I want to introduce what I would consider the A-team, since my dad is not here tonight.
Make sure the record reflects
yes,
that.
I've got Jasper Cornett with KPS, our architectural firm, Michael Riley with the Five Stone Group, representatives from both of our tenants, Grant Lauderdale with First Bank, Michael Wagner with the Welch Group, and then Stephen Schrader, who the church president. So again, we're excited to be here tonight. I'm not sure what elevations. Okay, we'll jump right into it. So the 5 variance requests that we have are, I'll just go one at a time. The location of a wall sign for First Bank. The sign ordinance permits wall signs on ground floors only. Because of the topography of this building and being that it's a multi-level building with 2 tenants, First Bank has requested top of building signage as depicted on this elevation. We believe that we've got 2 primary tenants. The signage ordinance allows 1 sign for multi-tenant buildings for multiple tenants. They're basically equal in square footage. So the second variance request that we're asking for is the location of a wall sign for the Welch Group identified on the retaining wall in that elevation as well. The third variance that we're requesting is for the max copy height of the W. We're requesting a 16.5-inch variance for that logo for the Welch Group. The fourth request is for a variance to allow a monument sign in the location shown on the elevation that would depict both the First Bank and the Welch Group. And the final variance is requesting that a monument sign in the median of Lucky Drive, which is a private drive, that would identify directional signage for the church.
He's still going. Never mind.
Huh? You can-
Remind us, there is already one sign that y'all did not put there in the median, right?
That's
for
correct. So
another
South
business
State Bank
that is
has
behind.
a sign depicted there. It doesn't quite look like that
Yeah.
now, but there is one there. So our request for the church sign would be that it would be north of that existing sign in Lucky Drive.
Okay.
And just to clarify, the fourth request, and I apologize because I wasn't here at the
That's okay.
committee meetings. The fourth request is for the variance is for the location of the monument sign or for to have the monument
So
sign?
the ordinance only permits 1 monument sign per frontage. Then you can get into discussion of, well, since Lucky Drive is a private drive, does it count as a frontage since it's not on a public street? So in meetings with Wyatt and Kale and Sherry, we had multiple discussions and thought just the cleanest way to do it would be to ask for permission. And
Got Mr. Pugh, just, again, I hate to be sort of hyper-technical on this, but is the request that you can only have 1 monument sign and they've got 2?
Yes, sir. The simplest way to think about it is just to forget Lucky Drive is there because it's on the private property and view it as just the property. There are the property lines and there are 3 monument signs on this frontage.
Because the South State Bank sign is
Right.
already there, and that counts.
I guess what I'm wondering then is what's the difference between variance request 4 and 5? If one of those is allowed?
Oh, there,
Because the South State Bank sign is the one, and it's already there, even though it's on the private drive,
So-
right?
But they've got a different property.
so you could
Yeah.
consider it as an off-premises sign. However, it looks and appears to be a monument sign. You could also consider it to be directional signage, being that it has an arrow pointing up Lucky Drive. So we interpret the variance request number 5 with the church on the sign with an arrow pointing towards its entrance as a directional signage. But again, we're trying to do things the appropriate way.
No, and I appreciate you asking for more rather than less. I mean, I get what we're doing. I guess where I'm getting confused is if 1 monument sign is allowed, what's the monument sign that's allowed?
So technically, because that is actually part of their property, is the South State Bank sign. You can look at it as a directional
Okay.
sign, but it's considered
That's
a
right. So
monument.
Alex, when we
Got it. You're being
subdivided-
penalized for someone else's sign is what is the bottom line. I'm with you now. Okay.
it's on their frontage though. so
I get it. Okay.
After going back and forth in a meeting, we just decided, let's just ask for the variance.
That's fine. Like I said, I appreciate you being more complete than less, so we'll go with that.
And then the church sign is actually a directional sign, so that people can find the
That's
parking
correct.
for the church.
That's correct.
Okay.
That one's on
We're-
the last page, Brian, if you'll show that one.
We're going to go with this as a belt and suspender sort of situation, but I'm not sure that I quite agree with the interpretation here. So, okay. Anybody else here to speak for or against this item? All right, then I'm going to close the public hearing and ask if there are any questions or comments from council.
Well, if you don't mind, I would like to, I made this point last week in committee, but I would like to make it again publicly here at the public hearing, that the way that the developer has gone about working with the church, the way the church has just been so, I think the relationship has been such a healthy one. I respect the work that went into working with the neighbors in the adjacent neighborhood, which is my ward. They literally put letters in every mailbox that was anywhere in the vicinity, had a public meeting. The neighbors were all supportive. I've communicated with them since, that's been since February of 2020, and everybody is in favor from the neighborhood of this, and just really happy that it's a relationship that is going to be beneficial for everybody. I'm happy the church is going to be able to stay where they are. They've got a beautiful piece of property, and I think that this building will enhance that and enhance the area. And it's got 2 new businesses coming to Homewood, 1 new business coming to Alabama, and I just think it's a win-win-win, and I'm just very thankful for the work that you guys put in up front to get to this point.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments?
I have a question, Mike. Do we have to approve them? Can we approve all of them at once?
Yes.
Okay, okay. I would make a motion to approve all 5 variances.
Second.
All right, motion from Ms. Smith, second from Ms. Andrus. Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is 9-0, and will be resolution
Thank you.
2269. Thank you, brother.
You've got a lot shorter now, didn't it? I wanted to ask for
All right, next item, 110422, request to consider sponsoring 4th of July fireworks with Vulcan Park Foundation, brought to us by Councilor Andrus, and we'll start with a report from Finance. I believe that's coming from Ms. Smith tonight.
It is. The committee met last week and voted 5-0 to recommend approving this item. Motion was made by Mr. Harden and seconded by Mr. Allamon. And Melody, remind me, this usually comes out of our advertising line item, but I believe the advertising line item has been hit kind of hard. So didn't we talk about?
We're putting it with one and a couple of.
Yeah.
With the budget amendment.
This is in the budget.
This is in the budget
Is
amendments
included
that
in
we'll
that
approve.
item that we'll
Okay.
approve tonight.
But we're just moving some money into advertising. Okay, that's what I thought. I knew there was something. Okay, so 5-0 to approve.
All right, so we have a motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 9-0, and will be resolution 2270. All right, next item, 120422, request to authorize the mayor to sign a 36-month lease with Ameritech for city copiers, brought to us by Robert Brigette, our finance director. And a report from Finance, Ms. Smith.
The committee met last week, voted 5-0 to recommend approving this item as well. The motion was made by myself and seconded by Councilor Gwaltney.
All right, we have another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is also 9-0, and will be resolution 2271. All right, which brings us to our next item, 130422, request to authorize the mayor to sign annual maintenance agreement with Motorola for radio system and NICE recorder, brought to us by Chief Hill and Deputy Chief Broadhead. And another report from Finance, Ms. Smith.
Yes, committee met, voted 5-0 to recommend approving this item as well. The motion was made by myself and seconded by Mr. Harden.
All right, we have another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 9-0, and will be resolution 2272. Next item, 140422, request for consideration of funding for leveling of Yorkshire, brought to us by Berkeley Squires, and another report from Finance, Ms. Smith.
Yes, the committee voted 5-0 to recommend approving the funding for this item, which is to level out Yorkshire. It has over time basically just lost the crown on the road, so the water isn't draining appropriately. The cost of this will be $42,225, and the I believe we are taking
From bond money?
Yes, yeah, it is from street materials and paving. from carryover fund balance, we're moving carryover fund balance into the street materials and paving line item to cover that cost.
It's from the 17
Yeah, okay. Yes, what she said, those numbers. And the motion was made by me and seconded by Mr. Gwaltney.
All right, so we have another motion from finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And that motion amendment's also going up the next one she says.
Yeah.
All right, so that is 9-0 and will be Resolution 2273. Next item, 150422, request to amend fiscal year 21-22 budgets, brought to us by Debbie Fout, Chief Hill, and Robert Burgett. And another report from Finance, Ms. Smith.
Yes, we met, voted 5-0 to recommend approving the budget amendments, which includes the movement into the advertising line item and then also the one for the paving. The motion was made by myself and seconded by Mr. Gwaltney.
All right, another motion from Finance. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is 9-0 and will be Resolution 2274. All right, next item, 160422, request to declare unused property surplus, brought to us by Chief Hill and Deputy Chief Broadhead. And another report from Finance, Ms. Smith.
Yes, the committee met and voted 5-0 to recommend approving this was a trailer that the fire department received as a donation from another fire department, and they are now wanting to donate it to another fire department, I believe Summerton, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Adamsville. So we voted 5-0 to approve them declaring it surplus and allowing them to donate that trailer.
All right. Mr. Kendrick, can you give us a first reading?
Yes, sir. It's an ordinance, ordinance declares certain property as surplus is hereby established and declared the following described property described in Exhibits A, B, and C are hereby declared to be surplus property. Section 2, the mayor and the city clerk being are authorized and directed to dispose of the property described in Exhibit A by auction to the highest bidder. Section 3, that as a promotion of the public purpose, the mayor and city clerk being are hereby authorized and directed to dispose of the property described in Exhibit B, which is the trailer Ms. Smith mentioned, by donation to the City of Summerton Fire Department. Section 4, that as and promotion of the public purpose, the mayor and the clerk be authorized and directed to dispose of property described in Exhibit C by donation to the Alabama Fire College. Fire College will be responsible for all moving costs to their location.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kendrick. And I would now entertain a motion and a second for unanimous consent.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Smith, second by Mr. Gwaltney, and a roll call vote, please, Ms. Salter.
Yes, sir. Counselor Gwaltney?
Yes, ma'am.
Counselor Gear?
Yes.
Counselor Allamont?
Yes.
Counselor Wolverton? Yes. Counselor Sims?
Yes.
Counselor Smith?
Yes.
Counselor Nelms?
Yes.
Counselor Andress?
Yes.
And President White.
Yes. All right, so that's 9-0, and now entertain a motion and a second for approval.
So moved.
Motion for Ms. Smith, second for Mr. Wolverton.
Who was the first, sir?
Smith.
Smith, okay.
All right, any questions or comments? And another roll call vote, please, Ms. Salter.
Yes, sir. Counselor Gwaltney?
Yes, ma'am.
Counselor Gear?
Yes.
Counselor Allamont?
Yes.
Counselor Wolverton?
Yes.
Counselor Sims?
Yes.
Counselor Smith?
Yes.
Counselor Nelms?
Yes.
Counselor Andress?
Yes.
And President White.
Yes. All right, so that's 9-0, and that'll be ordinance 2838. Next item, 200322, request for permission to work in the city right-of-way and install a pipe under Roxmoor Road for 596 Forest Drive, brought to us by Cale Smith, and a report from Public Works. Mr. Wolverton.
Basically, the committee met, we had a 5-0 vote to go ahead and approve this item.
All right, so we have a motion from Public Works. Any questions or comments from council? Mr. Sims.
Yes, I just want to check to make.
With the indemnification agreement, sorry.
Thank you for that clarification.
I just wanted to follow up on the timing of this project too. You know, we mentioned it in committee about the potential repaving of Oxmoor, just to make sure that that could be scheduled in alignment with Public Works so that this work is done prior to the repaving. Have you been able to have a follow-up conversation with Berkeley about that?
No, I was waiting until after the night, and
Okay.
we were gonna try to
But you,
hurry up and slide in before they do anything, but we'll reach out to them tomorrow.
okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Counselor Sims, yeah, is shedding light on a conversation during this item where Mr. Squires indicated that this road is actually slated for repavement very soon, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd make a motion for approval.
Second.
Pending indemnification agreement.
We got a motion from.
Motion from the committee.
Oh,
committee, so I think we're
I'm
good.
sorry.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is 9-0, and the resolution 2275. Next item, 090422, request for permission to keep and make improvements to an existing sign in the right-of-way. And for some reason, I don't have an actual address on this. It's,
507 Old Montgomery Highway.
thank you, which is Bacchus Smiles Orthodontics, brought to us by Don Hawes. Mr. Hawes is still here. We'll start with a report from Public Works.
Business is good.
Mr. Wolverton, you got a report?
Committee met and, let's see, sorry. Thought that was right there. Yep. The committee voted 5-0 to recommend approval, again with a signed indemnification agreement.
All right, so we have a motion from Public Works. Any questions or comments? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is also 9-0 and will be 2276. All right, next item, 100422, request for city to consent to amended, restated, and consolidated declaration of easements for Brookwood Medical Center, and we'll start with a report from P&D, Ms. Andrus.
The committee voted 3-0 to 2 to recommend approval. The motion was made by Counselor Nelms and seconded by Counselor Gwaltney. Counselor Wolverton and myself abstained.
All right.
Who abstained?
What's that?
Who abstained?
That was me and Andrew.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion from P&D. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
All right, so that is 7-0 to 2, and will be resolution 2277, and those abstentions were Ms. Andrus and Mr. Wolverton again.
Okay.
All right, next item, 01-1221, request for consideration for observing Juneteenth as a city holiday, brought to us by Mayor McCluskey, and we'll have a report from Finance, Ms. Smith.
So totally don't have this on my, oh wait, hold on, maybe I do. Hold on a second. Sorry.
I got stuck with that.
Actually, no. Okay, so we voted 5-0, I believe, to refer this to the mayor for budget hearings.
Okay?
Yes, sir, we'll add that on there, but it was referred to the.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So,
I'm just ad-libbing over here.
so we don't need a resolution for this, but we'll go ahead and have a vote to refer this to the mayor. All in favor?
I have a
Aye.
question.
Oh,
Sure.
oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Mr.
I'm sorry.
Sims.
So by referring to him for the budget hearings, we're saying for next year?
Yeah, I think we're saying, yes, that
So
it
we're
would
not-
be budgeted for, it would be budgeted in the next budget year.
But I thought, I misunderstood that. I thought we actually talked about possibly moving it forward so we could look at doing it in 6 weeks. Is that?
Actually, I did think that that's what how I interpreted it.
Yeah,
Well,
because
okay.
there isn't a budget item, there's a productivity item which has a financial cost, but I just wanted to double check on.
Sure.
And make sure that we're all under the same understanding.
So let's, I guess we should back up here. And because I wasn't at the committee meeting, but my understanding is that that the vote was to refer the item to the mayor to handle. Is that part, we all in agreement on that?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So once it's with the mayor, I think it is incumbent upon the mayor to determine when that would
Correct.
be. And so I wasn't at the committee meeting, but I think that, anyone can sort of vote the way they want to vote about it, but
Can I speak to that?
yes, Mr. Kendrick.
We have an ordinance that spells out the holidays that are recognized by the city. In order to add an holiday, we need to amend that ordinance. I think I spoke to that.
Well, that makes it more complicated.
Well, I mean, we did not discuss amending the ordinance in the committee meeting. We simply said we were referring it to the mayor for his discretion, to hit, for him.
So I would think what would happen is that we would refer this to the mayor to contemplate how, when, all of that stuff to do it, and come back to us, at which point in time, if the ordinance needs to be amended, that we would amend it, because that, the item is not to amend the ordinance, so we would have to start that process over anyway. But this would allow the mayor to have time to discuss it with committee heads and, I'm sorry, not committee heads, department chairs, department heads, and make sure that everybody's on the same page about when and how it should be done.
Okay, I will just say that the item originally came from the mayor, so my assumption was we were sending it back to him to administratively handle, because, I mean, he's had it in front of us for a while, so, and I was hoping we could actually do it this year, because I was thinking that was part of the intent of having it on there earlier, and we kind of held it up. So I mean, if the mayor intends to bring it forward, I mean, could we hold it for an ordinance in 2 weeks?
I think.
Well, to be honest with you, and I've had conversations with a couple of department heads as well, and again, Mr. Kendrick brings this point forward in regards to that the city sets its holidays, per the fiscal year, and so all of that is set. So my plan would actually be to discuss this for next year. Yeah.
My apologies.
Yeah,
So with
that's
that
okay.
clarification.
Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you all. Okay.
W- Would it be prudent for us, if we have to amend, would it be prudent for us to do that in committee so that it's ready for?
Well, no, because
next year?
I'll bring that
back.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
we would have to create the ordinance
When,
and do all
when,
the
when
stuff
we,
anyway, so we
when
might
we
as well
go for
just
next year's
bring it back.
calendar, it would be brought back. Correct.
Okay. All right. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that is 9-0. Which brings us to our amended committee referral agenda. I would entertain a motion and a second for approval of the amended committee referral agenda.
Second.
All right, motion by Mr. Allamon, second by Mr. Gwaltney. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? As approved, 9-0, which brings us to other new business. 060522, request to set a public hearing for consideration of a front yard fence variance at 2827 16th Place South, brought to us by Chuck Van of Willow Homes and Wyatt Pugh. We will set that public hearing for our next meeting, May 23rd at 6 p.m. Next item, 070522, request to set a public hearing for consideration to allow a rear yard fence in right-of-way at 1509 Valley Place, brought to us by Jessica Starr and Wyatt Pugh of our building department. That item will also be set for a public hearing on May 23rd at 6 p.m. Next item, 080522, request to set a public hearing for consideration of a sign variance at 2701 18th Street South, Suite 101, brought to us by Crawford Burton of Capstone Rodney Scott's Barbecue and Wyatt Pugh. That public hearing will be set for May 23rd at 6 p.m. Next item, 090522, request to set a public hearing for consideration of a sign variance at 2701 18th Street South, Suite 105, also brought to us by Crawford Burton of Capstone and Little Donkey Mexican Restaurant and Wyatt Pugh of our building department. That one will be set for May 23rd at 6 p.m. Next item, 100522, request to set a public hearing to consider annexation into the city of Homewood for 314 Happy Lane, brought to us by Ketchum Properties, Melody Salter, and Robert Brigette. Mr. Kendrick, how far out do we need to set that?
This for 90 days.
Oh, wow.
First time you can do it is August the 22nd.
All right, so we will go ahead and set that for August the 22nd at 6 p.m. It is. All right, next item, 110522, request for consideration of a tent variance for Shea's 100th anniversary event on May 15, 2022, in parking lot directly behind Shea's at 2818 18th Street South for a 40 by 60 foot tent with a tent set up on Saturday afternoon and breakdown Monday morning, brought to us by J.L. Shea and Melody Salter. This item did not go through committees. I think Shea's didn't know that they needed a tent variance until after we got past our last meeting. So they had requested that we put this on other new business, and I certainly obliged them. But Mr. Shea is here if anyone would like to ask him any questions about this.
I would move to approve.
All right, motion for Ms. Smith, second for Ms. Gear. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is 9-0 and will be,
78, I think.
yeah, resolution 2278. All right.
I would like to say a couple of words, I would. First, I wanted to publicly thank Melanie and Amy for helping me with this because I had no idea this was needed. We only do it once every 100 years. So I was totally, when I found out, and I asked for Melanie and Amy's help, and they quickly got it on the agenda for tonight. So I appreciate the consideration, and thank you very much.
Thank you, and congratulations on the anniversary.
Thank you very much.
All right, next item, 120522, request to release lien on the following property, 1117 Hardwick Lane. This was resolution 1915, brought to us by Melody Salter and Robert Burgett. This item is going to be carried over. The document that they sent us regarding the lien is quite frankly not acceptable. So we're going to carry that over, and we will make sure that we will talk to them about how much they want to pursue that document. All right. 130522, request for consideration of approval of vouchers for the period of April 26, 2022 through May 9, 2022, brought to us by Robert Gett and Melody Salter. Ms. Smith, I think this was you, wasn't it?
It absolutely was. I had some questions which Melody and Robert answered to my satisfaction, as always, and I would move to pay the vouchers for April 26th through May 9th.
All right, we have a motion from Ms. Smith. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Second for Ms. Gear.
I was about to say, are we not paying the bills? What's happening?
That's a hard one not to second. All right, motion from Ms. Smith, second from Ms. Gear. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That is 9-0 and will be 2279. All right, last item, 140522, request for the mayor to sign a contract with the RPCGB for an Apple study along Highway 31 corridor. This is brought to us by Cale Smith. This is an item that was, Mr. Smith, correct me if I'm wrong, that this was already budgeted. This is just a matter of approving the contract for the project that we've already approved, correct? Okay. All right. Any questions or comments about that?
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Move to approve.
It's not a public hearing, so I apologize, but no.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion for Ms. Smith, second for Ms. Andrus. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that is approved 9-0, and that will be resolution 2280. Which brings us to the end of the agenda. Mr. Mayor, you have any comments tonight?
Just a few. Did you say resolution 2280 on that last one?
I did.
Okay.
Hopefully I'm right.
You are.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure. No, just a few comments tonight. Graduation for Homewood High School seniors is the 21st, so we won't have another meeting before then here. So wanted to congratulate all of the graduating seniors and wish them well as they embark on their new college journeys. Also, the girls soccer team from the high school plays in the state semifinals after defeating Mountain Brook last week. They play Friday in Huntsville at 9 a.m. And lastly, We Love Homewood Day was a huge success. Driving around about 10:30 in the morning on Saturday, every corner of Homewood was packed with people. I mean, it was unbelievable. I know some people actually got up early and ran in the race. And I have to say, I'm very impressed with an under 7-minute pace from Mr. Gwaltney after getting in 5 hours earlier from an out-of-town trip. So that's it's pretty impressive, my friend.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, very, very well done. But thanks to Robert and Melody and the entire city staff and Parks and Rec certainly for putting on such a great event. I talked with Berkeley today, and he said that was probably the most people we've had there since about 2015. So it was a fantastic day. Couldn't have drawn up better weather. So,
Could not have.
yep. And that is it.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Gwaltney.
I just had to mark off everything on my list. I was going to say, it's so nice going. One of the benefits of sitting here is that you get to go first in comments so I can beat everybody to the thank yous. But I still have a few. So thank you to Melody Salter and her team for everything that you did for us. The council float was the best float that I've seen. And I know.
And one.
And one
we
award,
did.
that's right, yep.
Hey, I gotta say roll tape.
Oh, you didn't have to do that.
Say it, please. One time.
Yeah.
There is a picture we're missing, though, of President Wyatt and Councilor Andrus. No, is it Andrus, right?
Yeah, it was Andrus. Yeah.
We'll dig that one up for the archive. Make sure to
Hey,
put
one
it
of
in
my
there.
staff actually saw you in the black hat and said, I'm not proud of him, he does semi-costume.
See, I
participated.
participated.
He was
tried
looking
not-
grumpy.
But I was looking very grumpy in the picture with Miss Andrews.
He tried not to put it on. He had it between his legs and the ground. I was like,
I
put your
don't
hat
have
on.
it on right there.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you, Ms. Salter, for all of your hard work. I know it took a lot of time and a lot of
I really
effort.
have to thank my staff. My daughter helped too, Fran, so she said, I feel like I'm back in high school theater production. But they really took it to another level. I thought we were doing a Broadway
Totally.
show, so it's really not me, it's my staff.
It was amazing.
And then the only other comment I was going to make was also thank you to Public Works and Parks and Rec for obviously the organization that goes into it, but also all the behind-the-scenes activities that occur to make it seem seamless and clean and a good event for our neighbors. That's it. Public Works after Finance.
Or public safety.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to steal yours. I was looking through the agenda, and there's a lot of Public Works referrals. But I don't have any referrals. We will meet for about 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Gear.
Well, I was sad to miss We Love Homewood Day, but I heard it was a great success. I had a family event to attend. But I did make it home in time to hear the music still going down late down the street, so I know it was going till at least 9 o'clock that night. Homewood Arts Council met today, and they loved being out in the public again. It's been 2 years really since they've done anything with the community. It was great success with their coloring books. They said numerous people with sensory issue children said that it was very nice to have an activity that wasn't a ride, wasn't a high activity event. They had kids coloring at their table all day long. If anybody didn't get a coloring book, I have some for y'all if you want to have them for your kids or yourself. I've got some to pass out, and there are several, there's plenty left. They'll be sharing them around the community in the coming, really, year. So they just said to thank the community, and if anybody has any feedback, they had some dancers. The cloggers were early, and the Latin dancers were late. Anyway, they said if there's any feedback, they'd love to hear it about what worked and what to do better next time. So thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Alamon.
Just want to say happy Mother's Day to all the moms on council and in our town, and just want to thank my wife for putting up with me. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Wolverton.
Before I forget, we'll set Public Works after Public Safety. Should be fun. But yeah, also second the Mother's Day sentiments. I personally got the short straw and had to work yesterday, so I want to had to thank my wife for being willing to tote all 4 kids around to church and home, and she was done by the time I got home, though. I can tell you that. So, and I did want to. Although I did not attend the actual event, Homewood Grown a couple weeks, 10 days ago, was as expected, another great event. Love that it's, in a nice green space in the neighborhood, and I think everybody was respectful, and the event went off without a hitch, and so we love seeing stuff like that. So I think that's it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sims.
Yes, thank you. I want to echo everyone's remarks about We Love Homewood Day. It was really fantastic. Especially want to give thanks to Nevada, who worked so hard on the 5K. And I saw Councilor Andrus and Councilor Nelms there volunteering, helping out. So thanks so much to y'all for putting in your time always. Beautification Board met today and discussed some of the month-long cleanups in April along the creek. So that was great. Also, we had 3 new appointees in attendance, and we also still have one beautification board at-large position that's still open until May 23rd. So if anyone knows of anyone interested, doesn't need to be ward specific, just have them submit their interest and resume to Melody by 4:30 p.m. on May 23rd. Also, just one personal note, was at a meeting for a language access planning project at the library a couple weeks ago, and Christina Kestor from the library was talking about her Filipino heritage and also the Filipino community in Homewood. We were talking about the native language Tagalog from the Philippines, and so just kind of wanted to transition that into why I missed committee a couple of weeks ago. My best friend's father passed away, Dr. Emilio Bulosan. He was an immigrant from the Philippines, born in 1940, came to the U.S., commander in the U.S. Navy from 1975 to 1996. He was a general practitioner specializing in aviation medicine, and retired and continued his practice in Pensacola, Florida for years after that. It is Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So to Dr. Bulosan, to his family, to all the Filipino community and all the Asian Pacific Islander community in Homewood, we love you, we appreciate you, and thank you for being a part of our great city. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Yes, I would like to thank Melody and all of her daughter, and I mean just all the employees who helped put that fantastic float together. It was great, and I like dressing up, so I thought it was fun. President Wyatt. Yeah. And the fact that we won the award, you know, it took Debbie Fout retiring to beat the library. And it was a great day. I was out I did the 5K, and then I was in the park with the Historic Commission, who also had a booth. Rachel Mobley brought a bunch of artifacts that they found on the property of the Pink House during their renovation. So that was super cool. We had a bunch of kids come by. Eddie Griffith had put together a Homewood history hunt that was kind of like a scavenger hunt for the kids. So it was really nice to be out. And I will say, Berkeley's park employees, they were on all day. I mean, I saw them, the bathrooms there were lines for the bathrooms, and they were constantly having to like refill the toilet paper and refill the paper towels, and they were making sure they were picking up all the trash. They were just so fantastic all day long, and that was a long, long day. So I appreciate them greatly. The Historic Preservation Commission meets tomorrow night here in City Hall at 7. We are hosting the Union Missionary Baptist Church Forum on the 24th, which is a Tuesday night as well. We're going to be putting out some social media and website information about that as it gets a little bit closer. We're working with Reverend Steele to make sure we have all those details nailed down. I am going to set special issues after Public Works for next week. And I have a bunch of items, and I've asked Jennifer to cover it for me. I'm going to be in Mexico, so
she's going to FaceTime in.
So yeah, I'll be sure to zoom in during that committee meeting. But Jennifer is going to cover that meeting, but it will be after Public Works.
We could just have special issues meet in Mexico. Yeah.
Field trip.
Yeah. Ms. Nelms.
I want to commend Rusty Holly and his crew. So I volunteer for the first shift every time, and I regret it every time that morning. I'm always like, oh my gosh! But I drank my water and my coffee this time. Didn't pass out. I did really well with that hydration. But Rusty's crew, normally, you know, the vendor setup. We have our list, we get the vendors, and we tell them where to go, and then if they need carts to get their items to their square, we call over one of the guys on the gators. This year, we could not, I couldn't even turn around. They were like, you ready to get on? And I mean, they were getting to people as they were pulling up, the vendors, getting out of their cars. And it was wonderful. It was just a great day. And my kids appreciated it. You know, usually we appreciate it more, but they actually said, we love Homewood Day. It was great. So, and I did my little mini 5K when I got off the float. I ran to go see the band. So I got it all in right there.
If you run fast, it counts the same, right?
Right. And it was under 7 minutes.
Ms. Andrus.
Okay, so I will set P&D for after special issues, so there'll be a lot of items. Yeah, exactly. Melody, that really was the best float. I mean, that really was I don't know how you're gonna outdo that one, because that was really amazing, and everyone's costumes were amazing. That was really the best I've ever seen. It was amazing. We had almost 1,200 people registered to run in the 5K, and that was just a huge success. And anyway, just 10 years, that race is 10 years old, so really it's just bigger and bigger. And the Track Shack even said that was the biggest race they've worked in a very long time. So congrats to race director Nevada Spurlock. You guys should be seeing our ALDOT sign for the Mountain Brook and Homewood welcoming the World Games. That should be, I think that's been installed, so that should be up. So do go check that out. And I wanted to draw attention to the Homewood High School Environmental Club. I'm on the litter getter, some sort of committee that's the litter getters. And so I connected them with their contact at the high school they had lost contact with. They were wanting to do a video for a contest with litterquitter.org. And so I was like, oh, that's Melanie McBrayer. So I connected them, and John had her for AP Environmental last year. And anyway, those kids made the most fabulous video, and they won. They won $1,500. They won the contest. They absolutely won. It was a fantastic video. They did a fantastic job, and they up and won $1,500. Yeah, so that was very exciting. So I want to say congratulations to them. That's all I have.
All right. I just echo what everyone else said about We Love Homewood Day. Thank you to all the city employees who did everything. Berkeley's crew that works tirelessly. I got to tell you, anytime I was up here last week, I usually come in through that door. That whole room in there was full of stuff that became our float. And I was amazed at how it was really a fantastic float. I know we won because you made me wear a hat. Yeah, no, you've used your ticket. It's over now. But thank you for all the work that everyone put in. Happy Mother's Day to everybody. And with that, we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting, and we'll see everyone in a couple of weeks.